Hello, hello. All right, it's around that time to do the mid-year book freakout tag. I did this one last year. I don't remember most of my answers, I don't think. But before we begin, as usual, reading out of my Encyclopedia of Spirits. I'm gonna try and do like one of the front pages this time because I feel like we don't get anything that starts with an A. Here we go. Here we go. We have. Ooh. How the fuck do I say this? Abchanchu? Abchanchu. Classification. Vampire. There's so many different kinds of vampires. It's crazy. The Abchanchu roams Bolivian roads in the guise of a doddering, frail old man. He appears confused and disoriented, like someone's helpless old grandpa, and so, inevitably, a good Samaritan volunteers to help him. That's the Abchanchu's ploy. As soon as opportunity allows, out pop the fangs, his fragility is revealed to be an illusion, and as the Abchanchu attacks, under the influence of Dracula-inspired movies, travelers are advised to dab garlic oil on amulets to keep the Abchanchu away. True essential oil of garlic smells so strong that it will likely keep anything away. The power of amulets, sacred texts, and dried garlic flowers carried in a charm bag may be sufficient and definitely more pleasant. That's all it says. That's interesting. So it's a Bolivian vampire. Okay, so the mid-year book freakout tag for 2022. I have all the questions are down below if you want to do it for yourself. You don't have to film yourself too. You can literally just do it for your whatever reason. I wrote it down in this notebook as well. So yeah, we're gonna go through this. I did write it down like a couple days ago, so maybe some of my answers will change. Who knows? But the first question is the best book that you've read so far in 2022, and that is hands down The Ninth Reign. The Ninth Reign blew me away. I kept seeing this book be mentioned by some people, like on Instagram I saw some people, usually people that I like really enjoyed their posts or the content that they put out on YouTube as well. I mostly only saw Elliot Brooks talk about it, but she kept like hyping it up and it sounded so good, but I was so scared. I was like, oh, but what if it doesn't work for me? Like, it sounds so good, but at the same time, I'm so worried that it's gonna be a miss. And my gods, it was amazing. The first book just blew me away. I loved it so much. So, by far, so far, best book of 2022, but I really don't see anything being better. All right, the second book is the best sequel so far in 2022. So I don't want to flood my entire like best books and like funniest moments or whatever with only the Winnowing Flame trilogy. So I'm not going to say that The Bitter Twins was the best one that I read in 2022, even though like it's definitely up there. But so far I've read 3 really good sequels this year. But I'm going to give The Liar's Knot my best sequel of 2022 so far this year because I waited so fucking long for this sequel. So long. Like, ridiculous amount. And it was amazing. It was so amazing. I had so many emotions. I understood the story so much better, too, because, I mean, the Rook and Rose trilogy takes place in an environment that's just, it's very sneaky, I guess is the best way I can put it. Like, everything seems very in the dark and not in the know, and even the magic is so subtle that even the people who use it barely understand it and are still discovering it. And I don't know, this second book just revealed so much, and there was so much more with the characters and their relationships and the struggles that they're going through and everything that they have to do to survive. And I don't know. And now I have to wait for the third book, and I'm fucking mad because I really want it, and I can't wait to see how it all kind of comes together. Question number 3, a new release you haven't read yet but you want to. This is a little tough for me because I don't really keep up very much with new releases. Like, I see people post about books that are coming out soon, but there's so many that I would like to read. I don't think there's any one in particular that I'm like, oh my gosh, I really need to read that. But I guess I would say Kaikei because I've heard a lot of really good things about it, and it sounds like overall people are really enjoying it, and it is a debut author. I also heard that there's some kind of LGBTQ rep in it. So once again, I don't know. It just sounds like it would be really good. And I don't read a whole lot of retellings. So I am very interested in reading that new release. Hopefully this year. Okay, the fourth question is a most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I don't really have any. Again, I don't really keep up with the stuff that gets released. I know that R.F. Kuang is coming out with her Babel book, and I haven't read anything by R.F. Kuang, so I can't say that I'm super hyped about it. I do know that Juniper and Thorn is coming out by Ava Reed, and I read The Wolf and the Woodsman, and I really loved that as well. But I'm not like super looking forward. There are just so many other books that are already out that I would rather focus on. I don't want to hype myself for new releases that I haven't even heard anything really about very much, or really new releases that I think I would ever hype myself up for are for authors that I've already read from. Like V. Schwab, when I knew Gallant was going to come out, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I need to read that. And the moment I got it, I read it. Like, I think that's really the only instance that I will be super, super excited for a new release. I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to keep my expectations low so I don't end up with thousands and thousands of books to read. Number 5 is biggest disappointment. So I have 2. The first one would be, I wouldn't say that it's like a huge, huge disappointment, but it was pretty big. It was Little Thieves by Margaret Owens, I think is her name. So I got this book in an Illumicrate box, and the edition was so beautiful, and just the summary of the story sounded amazing. I figured that I would absolutely love this book, and unfortunately I couldn't, and I tried so hard. I was like 64% into this book. I don't know what page number that is, but I was far, and I really tried, but I couldn't. I couldn't anymore. I was so disappointed with how much it felt like the plot took a sideline a lot of the time, and I hate that. I really hate when that happens, because I don't think I'm necessarily a very character-driven reader. I mean, I think everyone likes reading good characters, right? But I think the most important part for me is plot. I need there to be a story. I need there to be something that's really driving where these people are going, why they're doing it. Relationships are great, but like there has to be a reason that these relationships are happening. And so I guess the second disappointment, which is probably the biggest one that I have, it makes sense why it was such a disappointment, and it was The Long Walk by Stephen King. I heard so many good things about this book, and I really thought I was gonna love it. I heard that it was like one of his most fucked up and gruesome horror books. I was like, oh yes, let's do this. And then I read it and I was like, this is really boring. Like nothing is happening. And yeah, nothing happened. Like, I don't want to spoil too much, but essentially The Long Walk it's more, to me, when I was reading, I was like, this feels like a book that you would assign in a philosophy class when you want to challenge your students to think about what is the meaning of life and what is the metaphor that this book puts forward for life and the struggles that you'll go through and whatever. Which, in a way, like, yeah, that's great. And it was really well written. I can't say that it was a bad book. It's just I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed there was no plot. I didn't understand anything. Like, the back of it said, in a dystopian America. You got no context for how this dystopia happened. What are people's lives in this dystopia? There was nothing there. And then you have The Long Walk, and you never really discover, like, why did that even start? And I guess that was the point, you know? And I understand that was the point of the book, but I didn't like it. I didn't like that I didn't get more of a story. And honestly, there was just so much grossness in that book. I've said this before. I like fucked up shit. But that wasn't even fucked up. It was just gross. Like, the majority of it, so it's just men who walk, right? Men who are walking and walking and walking. They can't stop. If they stop, they get shot. And the majority of, I guess it would be horror in a sense, but it's like, they would just think about banging chicks or like how their dick was hard. And I'm like, why? I'm going to stop there. But yeah, that was a huge disappointment for me. Anyways, moving on, the biggest surprise. Woo! Number 6 is, yeah, the biggest surprise this year. I would say that The Ninth Rain was the biggest surprise because, again, I wasn't expecting to love it so much. But I think ultimately I'm going to say that the biggest surprise this year was The Vanishing Half. This was a book that I read for my book club. And again, I love being in my book club because it pushes me to read stuff that I wouldn't normally pick up on my own. And The Vanishing Half is a contemporary, just literary fiction. Typically, those don't work well for me. But this one hit pretty hard. And when I read this, I was sick. I was in bed. I couldn't move. I just felt awful. And I had the audiobook for this. And I would sit there listening to it. And it felt like I had a companion with me. Just something kind of telling me, it's okay, you're going to get through this. Because that's kind of what the book felt like. It felt like just getting through it. And I thought it was so beautiful. I was moved by everything that happened in that book and the relationships and the struggles and the bond between sisters that, I don't know, the complexity of choosing where you're from and what you want to be. I thought it was amazing, and I was genuinely surprised at how much I loved that book. I do highly recommend the audiobook if you are considering reading it because the narrator was phenomenal. She made different voices for the different characters, and she really just, I don't know, she made it where I felt so connected with the characters. I felt like they were there. I felt like I was with them, experiencing everything and trying to support them, and yeah, it was beautiful. Okay, question number 7. Favorite new author? Jen Williams, the author of The Winnowing Flame. Duh. No, but seriously, like, I think I am definitely going to buy her Copper Cat trilogy, I think is what it's called, and read it because holy hot damn, like those, it's amazing. I love her writing. I love her imagination, her creativity. I love it so much. I think that's probably what sells me the most on authors is their creativity and their ability to create a story, an environment, a world, characters, dynamics. I love it so much. So yeah, she is a new instant buy author, a new favorite author for sure. Question number 8, newest fictional crush. I think this is kind of hard because I don't think I quite understand what people mean by a fictional crush. Like, I mean, I think maybe I very easily enjoy characters and would see myself hanging out with them and really enjoying them and having affection for them. But if it's in the sense of like who I would date, I think the last video I did, the last mid-year freakout tag, I said Serapio from Black Sun because he just sounded super sexy and he was just kind of cute and wholesome and I just wanted to snuggle with him. And this year I'm gonna choose more of sassy, doesn't let people boss her around. She is so sarcastic and she is such a fucking badass. And I'd love her. Vintage from the Winnowing Flame trilogy. Yeah, I think I have a massive crush on her. I have a crush on how she is so driven. She's just so driven and she is there for her friends and she is ready to face the challenges. She's not scared. I mean, she is the glue. She is the glue in that book and I want to stick to her. Okay, before I start confessing all my feelings. Number 9 is a new favorite character. So I think maybe last year I did this tag before I read Shadow of the Gods because I think I read that around the end of the year. But I am going to add Orca as a favorite character because in the Shadow of the Gods and in the Hunger of the Gods, Orca is by far my favorite to travel with. Not that I don't like the others. I do. I love them all. But Orca is just, I want to protect her. I want to protect her so much. And I know she can protect herself. She's a fucking badass. I mean, she's a Viking mother who is chasing down the people who took her son. So she can full well take care of herself. But I will be there for when she needs a hug, for for when she needs a foot massage because she's been on her feet all day, beating the shit out of other people with her big weapons. But yes, she's my new favorite character because of her past and because of the pain that she's been through and how she's still fighting and how she is just such a good mother. And I don't know, I feel like I haven't read a book from the perspective of a mother who is also a warrior and who left that life and who... Yeah, I'm gonna stop because I'm gonna cry. Number 10, a book that made you cry. The Hunger of the Gods. That's all I'm gonna say because I'm not gonna spoil anything, but The Hunger of the Gods made me cry. And I finished it when I went to the climbing gym and I was meeting up with a friend and I was sitting on the couch and there are people, mind you, who are going around climbing and I'm sitting on a couch crying because I finished The Hunger of the Gods. And that ending, fucking shit. Another really honorable mention. I said I wasn't going to bombard this tag with The Winnowing Flame, but The Poison Song. The Poison Song made me cry, and Lorena, you saw the evidence. I fucking cried. I can't. I have to move on. Okay, Number 11, a book that made you happy. I don't think I really read any books that are generally, like, happy. Last year I read a book that was basically a self-help sort of biography humor book, so it fit perfectly for this. But this year so far I haven't read anything that's generally like meant to be funny. So this might seem like a weird choice for me to pick as a book that made me happy, but Harrow the Ninth. So I read Gideon the Ninth last year and it was fucking weird. And people kept saying, they're like, oh, Harrow the Ninth is even weirder and even harder to keep track of. So as I was reading the book, I was so lost. I was like, what the fuck is happening? I don't know. What is going on? But even she doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know what's going on. No one fucking knows what's going on. So I was generally just having such a good time being completely lost and just being with the characters. Now, mind you, Harrow the Ninth is very much a time where Harrow, the main character, she is depressed and she is not in a good place. But her self-deprecating humor and kind of greater than thou sarcasm and I don't know, it just functions so well and it made me laugh a lot. And the ending made me so goddamn happy. Sort of. It was also very confusing, but it made me so goddamn happy. So that, yeah, Harrow the Ninth is definitely a book that made me really happy, and I cannot wait for Nona the Ninth. I did not pre-order it, though, because it's coming out first as a hardcover, and I only have paperbacks, so I am going to wait for Nona the Ninth to be in paperback. The most beautiful book that I received. I will take this one out. I think it was around maybe March or April. I canceled, like, almost all of my book subscriptions because, well, mostly I realized most of the books I was getting were young adult, or they ended up being books that I didn't really like. So I was paying extra money for books that, yeah, look pretty, but maybe I don't even enjoy them. So I just canceled a bunch of them. I did order one of the adult Fairy Loot special edition subscription things because I was like, fuck it, we'll try it. But then the first book I got, I was like, I wasn't even interested in this. So I realized book subscriptions are just not really for me. Anyways, all that to say that the most beautiful edition or the most beautiful book that I have when it comes to like sprayed edges and stuff like that is the last book that I got, which was the Fairy Loot adult subscription box that they did. And it's the Atlas 6. I know that this was technically a self-pub at first and then it blew up and I heard so many people talking about it, but I never really was interested in reading it. Now that I have it, obviously I'm probably going to read it. But yeah, it is beautiful. I mean, I particularly love this. And it has this in here. I mean, again, it's super pretty. But I've realized I don't really care that much about having pretty books. Plus, I annotate my books. I carry them everywhere with me. They get fucking ruined. So, yeah. Pretty books is not necessarily for me. I think the only time that I will actually splurge on having a special edition is of books that I've already read, from now on anyways. Okay, the last question. Woo, finally made it. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? There's nothing that I really need to read by the end of the year. I'm not going to impose myself on anything like that. But there are a few books that I would like to read by the end of the year. So I listed them here because I knew I'd probably forget. So this is already on my July TBR. But I do need to read House of Sky and Breath. I've been pushing it off so much, so that needs to be read. Then I did set myself a goal this year of reading at least 5 E. Schwab books. I have already read Gallant, Extraordinary, and I think that's it, right? I don't know, but anyways, I told myself that I should read This Savage Song and Our Dark Duet. So those are up on I should read these before the end of the year. Another book is The Poppy War, so that one as well needs to get read. December Park is another one. The Black Tongue Thief, The House in the Cerulean Sea, The Wizard's First Rule. Listen, Ryan has been on my ass about reading this one, so I gotta get to this one by the end of the year, or I'm never gonna get to it. The City of Brass, it's a trilogy that has been out for a long time and everyone has already read it. I'm like, I feel like I should probably get to it. I have the first book, so I really should. And Forged in the Fallout. This is an indie book or a self-pub book. I really want to read more self-pub. Because if I'm going to be completely honest, a lot of the books that I've really enjoyed, that I thought were extraordinary, that were original and like nothing else I read, have been self-pub books. So I'm going to make an effort to read more indie self-pub books because there's just so much out there. And I mean, I'm writing my own book too. It's on Wattpad. It's free. Y'all can read it if you want to. And I feel like there aren't enough eyes on people who write things, not necessarily to make money off it, but just to write things because they had this story and they wanted to put it out. And yeah, I want to see more. And I feel like just going through big publishers is limiting. So I do want to read more of that. So Forged in the Fallout is one that I'm interested in. Also, like, I'm pretty sure it has an underground setting. And if you follow me on Instagram, you saw that I made a post about how underground settings are like my favorite setting. And I want more books with that. All right, that was my mid-year freakout tag. And I hope you enjoyed it. If there are any of these questions that you want to answer to, you can feel free to answer them in the comments. You don't have to do anything special. So like if there are any, like if you want to tell me who your fictional crush is, please by all means tell me because I will be so happy to hear. Otherwise, you can feel free to leave any kind of emoji or random letter combinations down in the comments. And if you like the video, you know the usual. I will see you all in the next one. Bye.